Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Earlier, we did a production about discrimination in the workplace where women were discriminated against because of their hairstyles. This was African American women and their natural hairstyles that did not conform to the dominant culture's look of what was professional. Well, today we're going to talk about discrimination among our children based on how they wear their hair to school and perhaps other public places. Now, when my daughter was young and in grammar school, she and her friend Allison, who was also a biracial child, had really big hair, thick curls that were beautiful in themselves. But I found out later on during the school year that they were sort of being bullied, where the other children were making fun of their hair to the point that my daughter was always wanting to wear hair tie to kind of keep it down so that she would not be made fun of. Now, I did not find out about this until years later, but this really was a source of bullying. And I think that parents need to be aware of times when their child may be being bullied based on their hair, their skin color, their eyes, any of those number of things where a person is being picked on, and parents need to step up on that. So, sisters, I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions because recently in Illinois, there was a law passed that stood up against discrimination against children and how they wear their hair.
Yeah, I remember when my daughter first started going to school, and we purposely had her go to school at a place considered African-centered school. And a lot of parents had children there that were wearing locks, and locks at that time, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And they were saying that they couldn't send their children to any other schools because they would get teased and made fun of. And sometimes administration would say, oh, you have to comb your child's hair. You can't have them here like that. So they faced a lot of discrimination in other schools. And so this was the only school that they could go to where their children saw other children like them. And it wasn't anything strange. Who weren't making fun of them. So it was an atmosphere that I definitely wanted Zakia, my daughter, to be in because, she wore her hair natural, and I didn't want her to have any memories of anybody calling her nappy headed or any other kind of mean thing that gets said to children when they wear their hair natural. So she didn't have that negative experience. But I do remember, of course, when we were growing up, the thing to do was to straighten your hair. And it was just about that time the afro was coming in. But I remember in the beginning, matter of fact, this little girl had come by to visit. She was from New York, and it was back in 1968. And she came by, I think she was maybe like 8, 9, 10, around the age of me and my friends. And she had an afro, and we were like, what happened to your head? Because we hadn't seen it before. So we were kind of laughing at her and stuff because, we didn't know what that was. And New York tends to be a little bit ahead of Chicago and trends and so forth. And she was saying that it was an afro or whatever it was called, a natural, I think she called it. But I remember us laughing at her because, we had not seen somebody with their head just kind of standing on their head unstraightened. So children can be very cruel, but I think it is important to make sure that your child is in an environment where, however they choose to express themselves, fashion wise, hair wise, it's respected.
Now, see, that's interesting because that just goes to show you how pervasive the dominant European culture was on us, teaching us that something that is natural is unacceptable. Now, my daughter, who is also biracial, has an amazing head of hair. Every hairdresser who's ever seen her always says, "Wow, she's got a lot of hair." And she also like Barbara's kids, she has like, and it's thick. Even as we speak right now, she's like dancing somewhere on a stage and she's got her hair all the way out. But when she was younger, and I was very much, because if you're a biracial kid with a black mom, it's just totally different from if you're a biracial kid with a white mom.
Mm.
And so I did everything I could to make sure that she was proud of her hair. And yes, it was a lot because when she had it braided or she had twist or she had French braids, and she was tender-headed just like her mom. And so there was always this drama just to get her hair, but I always made her hair look beautiful. She always had twists, she had beads. Sometimes I remember once, I think she was in the second or third grade, maybe it was the third grade, and I did her hair in twist, and then I put beads in it, and I put alphabet beads and had the names of all of her friends in her hair, and they all crowded around her and looked for their names in
Very
her
extra,
hair.
Shirley. You are very
So
extra.
I even had, and she was the only at the time. She was there was another girl there who was biracial, who was part Asian, but all the other kids were white. And Sarah had one time said, "Well, I want my hair to look like everybody else's." So after you two talked me off the ledge, uh, I went and found a hairdresser, a black hairdresser, who straightened her hair, and she liked it. And then somebody said, "Oh, your hair looks better." And she
Oh.
got it. And she said, "No, it doesn't." That's when she really understood the way our children understand the racism that we try to teach them, but they don't get it until it's the microaggression comes. And then and actually her third grade teacher, who was also white, said, "You know what? I really miss Sarah's hair." So, after a while, she went back to her natural hairstyles, all the different things that I did. And she has learned to embrace all of the things. She wears braids sometimes with extensions. She was talking about getting faux locks. She straightens her hair sometimes, but a lot of times she wears it natural. And when she's dancing, a lot of times she wears it natural because it just makes more sense rather than sweating it out. Uh, we had talked about perms, and I did not want her to get a perm. And luckily, the hairdresser that she had at the time says, "Well, you don't want them to get a perm before they're 14." And by the time she was 14, she had instilled enough pride in her hair to not want to do that. So, we've all, and all black women, we all got hair awards. We all got hair stories. But the thing that is so different with this is that ours is the only race that has had to, well, I'll say maybe not even just us, but mostly us, where we have had to have it instilled into law. A lot of indigenous people, they've seen their children's hair cut, which
Mm.
is part of their culture, is to have the long hair. So, it's part of that, us deciding that we're not going to try to assimilate as far as trying to look white or appear white, because that isn't professional. My dreadlocks does not make me unprofessional.
Mhm.
My afro didn't make me unprofessional, and my perm, when I had it, didn't make me more professional. And that's the thing. And so we have to fight back against that, because our children are taught, either our children or white people's children are taught, that different isn't good. And we're all different for a reason. God made us all different for a reason.
That's right.
So
And
we have
different
to
is
be
good.
Yeah, and we have to embrace our differences and be ready to fight. And I don't want to go on too long, but I wrote about this a couple of years ago. I sent you all the link about this because teachers were saying, "Oh, well, your braids or your extensions, they cause a distraction." And I said at the time, "Look, if your kids can be distracted by my hair, then they need to seek help because their problems run
Ooh.
different, run a lot deeper than follicular anomalies, is I believe is the way I said it, because it is, and that is just because you're uncomfortable. I'm supposed to make you feel comfortable, and
Right.
that's
That's your
okay.
problem. It ain't mine. Yeah.
And that's what we need to instill. I don't need to make you feel more comfortable. I
Right.
don't need you to touch my hair. You
Right.
know, you're not 5 years old. Keep your hands to yourself. I
Right.
am not a professional. So we really have to fight um that
That attitude.
that attitude that because we're different, we're wrong.
Right. There you go. That's what it is. Well, Nicole
Yeah.
Cox says, talk about it, aunties. Here for this. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I
You
mean,
know,
you like I said, if you get 2 or 3 black women in a room, we got
everybody
hair
got their
stories. We
story.
bond over the hair stories,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
Yes.
But
even if
you
it's
know,
something as awful as alopecia, because that also affects many of us in our community.
yeah.
Some of that is from stress, some of that is just an autoimmune condition, but we're always taught that we need to look better for someone else's
Right.
comfort, you know.
Right. And Nicole says respectability politics has been used as oppression for years. Appearance is a
Absolutely.
huge part of this. And a lot of women have told me when they go into corporate America, they were pressured to change their hair. And it was always words used like, well, it's not quite professional. Now, what does that say? You know, if you're working in a law firm or working in an accounting firm or working at a bank, what does that got to do? What does your work have to do with your hairstyle? You know, if it's combed and there's no, you know,
If
gnats flying around it. I mean,
exactly, if it's clean,
if it's clean and however you
clean,
style it,
no fleas, no lice, no ticks,
right?
no bugs, your hair is professional.
That's right. It's
Now,
And
you know, I will say this thing happened to me and my friend Diana. And this was, well, my goodness, I believe we were probably still in high school. And we were being given a tour at the ABC television station in Chicago downtown. And they had hired a black woman. I'm trying to remember, it might have even been uh, Felicia Middleburg, or I'm
Middlebrook.
not quite sure.
Felicia Middlebrooks is her name.
Yeah,
You
Middleburg.
can't
And
trust
I think,
her race by her sound of her voice on the radio at all.
yes, very professional woman. But at the time that we met her, her hair was straightened, and she told us that she tries to blend in with everyone else uh, by having her hair straight, and especially her speaking voice does not give away what race she is.
Not at
And
all.
she said
we
she
all know how
tries
to
to
code
do
switch.
things that will not make her stick out like a sore thumb. So there was that pressure to try to blend in with everybody else as much as you could and not stand out as an African American woman, because now you're different. So that must mean that you are not as good as everyone else.
Yes, you're a what do they call that? Diversity hire now. They used to call it affirmative action. And
Yeah.
this is the thing that's funny.
Diversify.
When I worked for the Globe, I used to go on these recruiting. I go to National Association of Black Journalists, conventions, and I would do the job, the whole job fair. And I'll tell you, us our people, we know how to dress up and dress professionally. These young men were wearing suits. These young women were wearing the heels, and they're walking around this great big old amphitheater, and they're doing, and they've got it together. I said they were dressed better than me because I was a sports person, so I was used to wearing like hoodies to work, so I had to like step up my wardrobe. But anyway, I remember walking, and I've had dreadlocks for like 27 years. And I
Wow.
remember walking to one of the venues, and there was a woman who came up. She was a beautiful, dark skinned woman with this long straight hair, was, probably a weave. And she says to me, you know what, I really wish I could wear my hair like that. And I just looked at her and she says, I can't, I work for Fox.
Oh,
So there
wow.
was this whole thing, so that, even though it's obvious she was black, and that's the thing, is like, okay, we want you to be black, but not too black. So
Yeah.
don't, so just pretend that you're like a chocolate covered white person. And like I said, we could all code switch. I can speak in a way that you wouldn't know what my race is. I prefer not to. But
Right.
we all know how to code switch, and we've always had to. It's like a second
Right.
language.
Right.
But we don't
And
need to
all
code
black people
switch
are
with our
bilingual.
hair. What did you say?
All black people are bilingual.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes, we are. And we don't tell anybody about the secret handshake either.
Yeah.
Uh,
But now tell me, when your child runs into that discrimination, how have you handled it?
well, I've been lucky because Sarah's working now. She's working at a medical setting, and it has never come up. I don't think I've even asked her, because she's come in with, braids. She's come in with her hair big. She's come in all kind of ways. And I think because there are other black women, I think her immediate supervisor is a black woman. It does not come up. It has never actually come up in any of her jobs, even when she was working on campus. It has So no one has told her that she had to change her hair, because they needed her more than she needed that job, because she didn't actually have to work when she was in college. She just wanted to. And I don't think that anyone in that kind of setting would actually say that anymore. I think I'm hoping that that is not no longer going to happen, because we've called out the microaggressions that
Right.
happen, and how that is a hostile work environment. If you tell someone, the school level is where we have to worry about it now, with the younger people, and our kids are all out of school. But that's where I'm seeing it happen, where people suddenly have these dress codes. But the dress code is, oh, you can't wear locks, you can't wear braids, you can't wear, all these things that are strangely, coincidentally, mostly in our culture.
Right. It's always you people have to change yourselves to look like us.
Yes.
And I mean, we've been going through this for more than decades. I mean, over a
Yes.
century now,
Yes.
being told that what you are is incorrect. So you really have to instill that in your child early, that there's nothing wrong with you at all. You don't need to change your complexion, the shape of your nose, your lips. You remember, hold your mouth in, all that kind of crazy stuff.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
the lips, hey, however they are, they're perfect. Everything on you is perfect just as it is. But
Or
then
that special cream to lighten your skin.
Yeah.
I remember we were reading Barack Obama's book when he was talking about when he first saw an advertising for that in an Ebony magazine. He was out with his mother, he was in a waiting room somewhere, and he saw that article, just kind of traumatized him. Cause like, what?
Yes.
What? And he's
Yes.
light skinned, but still just the thought, there's something wrong with your dark skin, lighten it up so you can look white. I mean, so that was, I guess, his first realization of racism on that level. Every child goes through that, and you really have to fortify them by making sure that they know that other people have the problem and they don't. I think Zakia never dealt with that in the work environment. Of course, like I said, she went to a grammar school that was very much, African centered, Afrocentric, and a lot of children were wearing, natural hair. That was really more the norm than the abnorm. And then, she grew up Muslim, which was, covering her hair when she got to be a teenager. And we kind of had to make sure we removed any issues with that, explain that to the principal. Look, this is the culture, this is the custom, this is the religious covering, so it's not the head rag, it's a religious covering. So
Which, by the way, that's another thing when they suddenly say, "Oh no, do rags."
Yeah.
That
for
is
no
also what
jobs.
they're talking about. They're
Mhm.
also targeting our kids for that. And I
Yeah.
remember back in the Jerry curl days, and no, I never got one of those, but they used to have everybody walk around with this greasy towel over the shoulder so the stuff wouldn't
Yeah, that
drip.
was
So,
Around your
you know,
neck to catch
yeah.
the grease dripping off.
So it's like
Mhm.
all these things, and then all of a sudden you see these oh no, none of this, and they know who you're talking about. It's like when they tell you like no platform shoes or something. Okay, you know who they're talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
everything we do is always something wrong with it.
yes, yes.
Well, now
It,
remember Chris Rock's movie Good Hair, Bad Hair?
Yeah, where everybody
good
been
hair.
talking about the
Yes,
fact he just did a hair thing, so they figure, okay, he should be sensitive to hair situations,
yes,
Yes.
and that
yes.
that
But that was the thing, is that we're going to pay money to wear hair that have been shaved from women over,
in another
hundreds,
country,
thousands of miles
don't know
away.
if they got lice.
Yeah, and then I remember I think it was Nia Long who was saying, "Oh no, I have a pool," but she didn't go in the pool because of her hair.
Want you to get
And we've all talked about this kind of stuff, and it's like we
not
spend so
taking
much
swim
money.
because you just got a perm. I mean, that was
Yeah.
common. I remember that in gym. Somebody, I can't be getting my hair. I just got my perm. So
Yes.
they'd want
Yes,
to get
or if you
excused.
didn't, or if you just got your hair straightened, you weren't going to the pool. That's why I
Yeah,
always said, if you want to get rid of a whole generation of black women, all you gotta do is throw them in the pool because we couldn't swim. because
because we didn't want to get out
because we
there.
all went we got out of swimming as soon as we could and went to modern dance or something like that, so we didn't have to
Yeah.
go in the pool.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing. And so I did not want any of that for Sarah. So by the time she started taking swimming lessons when she was 4, I wanted to make sure that she wasn't afraid. I didn't want my fear of water to become her fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I said, and Barbara, your kids are all fish. So
Yeah.
uh,
They went from swimming to lifeguarding at the beach.
Yeah, I know.
they're like aquatic animals. All of them, they could swim. Sarah can swim better than me. She's
Yeah.
also, she wasn't lifeguard, but she could do the 10-foot thing, and me, I'm
Yeah.
like over here. Once my feet don't touch, I can't do that. But
Panic. Yeah. And I keep saying I'm gonna take a swim class at the Y because I don't want to go out on a boat and then, yeah, well, I'm see even if I go on a boat, I'm gonna have them give me a life jacket just because.
yes,
But,
yes, in a
now
parachute and everything else.
Nicole Cox says they will not question nurses or nannies because it is behind the scenes profession. They want to manage the high profile positions. Yeah, you don't always get people like who working as maybe domestics talking about you got to have your hair straightened. But if you work in an office, they feel like you should look white. What is that? What
and
exactly?
and and I always challenge that. I mean, I have, when I've gone, I think all last semester, I don't think the kids in my class knew even how long my hair was because I would just braid it. I just had one long braid, but it wasn't even about that. It was just like, okay, really, I'm vain about my hair, but technically it's probably the least interesting thing about me. So I didn't want that to be a thing. I've had to like keep people, not obviously not my students, but keep, strangers and other people from like reaching for your hair like this. So you learn how to do the head wave or the
I
head
know.
bob, you know,
Head bob.
like you were boxing or something.
I
But
know.
but the thing
Contra
is
punch.
that a lot of times they will say, and they'll couch it because they know it's racist. They will couch it as, well, we want you to look more professional. Or
Yeah,
we have a
we,
certain
we, we need to
look
call them
or
out when they say
whatever.
So
Or maybe they don't.
euphemisms.
I remember reading about this one woman who was talking about she used to wear bright colors and they didn't want her to wear these bright colors. And it's
yeah,
things like that, the assassination of our culture,
yeah.
that we need to stop happening to our children.
And
So
yeah, right. We need to not let it happen to our children. And Nicole says melanin content, hair texture, nose, lips, speech, body shape, attire. We can only pass if 4 of these 7 are Euro acceptable. That's
yes,
probably what
yes,
happens.
exactly, exactly. And we do not need to. We do not
Yeah,
need to. If we have to, if the law just keeps coming up and saying, okay, but we need this. I mean, and that's the other thing. A lot of times this is women's bodies.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
We are so
Sad
used
truth.
to
That is
the
true.
government trying to police women's bodies and trying to police Black bodies.
Yes. Well, you know what? When I think about it, because it wasn't too long ago that women wore girdles, and I finally figured out that it was our behinds that people were deciding were too big. Because I don't think white women even wore girdles, but I remember because a friend of mine, she was talking about her girdle. She was, her girdle was killing her, and I thought about that a few years later. I said, you know what? Why did we let people squeeze our rear end together in a way that's very unhealthy for your intestines? All that
But
squeeze.
it was all women. It was all women because white women used to wear them too.
Those
And
stains.
it's the thing about policing women's bodies.
Yes. Why
If
can't
men
your
could,
behind shake? What's wrong with that?
yes, if you don't like it, and the same thing with bras. Now, granted, after a certain age, you realize gravity is not your friend. But but the whole thing, I was when I was young and the boobs were where they were supposed to be. I didn't wear a bra, and I used to have somebody say something. If you have a problem with seeing nipples, which everybody else has, then that's on you. And
Yeah.
this is the thing it's about policing women's bodies,
Yeah.
policing our hair,
Yeah.
policing our boobs, policing our butts, trying to tell us and our young women adultifying our young girls, and telling them that, oh, they fast if they don't wear this or that undergarment or this. And this is the thing is that we need to stop all this. And it starts with the hair, but it ends with everything else.
It goes from head to toe. What your body should look like. And we have to empower our daughters to not allow it.
Our daughters and our sons to respect
and our sons.
them.
Yes, that's true.
Because the whole thing about saying, oh, you can't wear that because it's distracting to the boys.
Well, keep your eyes on the paper then.
Yeah, I'm not responsible for somebody else's reaction.
Yeah.
I should be able to walk. Well, granted, I can now walk down the street past a construction area without people yelling at me and catcalling me, because they will do that when you're a young woman, not when you're old and invisible.
I yell stuff back.
But when you're a young woman, they will do that no matter what you're wearing. You could walk down wearing a refrigerator box and someone will still say something. So we need to stop.
I used to cross the street to avoid all of that nonsense.
And we should not have to.
I don't. I'm telling you, I yell something back.
Like I said, once I'm older, I'm luckily, you become invisible, and it's kind of nice, unless it's an old man.
Yeah. Anyway, we gotta go. But what's one last word of advice you would give to, say, maybe a high schooler who is in a situation where maybe they are in the minority race rise and they have a teacher or someone say something that indicates that their hairstyle is unacceptable? Should you go there as a parent and read them the riot act and fight for their rights, or should you try to get them to change their hairstyle?
You know what I would do? If I would go to the school if I had to, but I would write a letter and I would actually make them spell out why. I would make them uncomfortable. If you say, well, your daughter's hair or your son's hair is against the dress code, I would say, how is it against the dress code? I would make them say, it's against the dress code because we can't do it and we're jealous. I would make them say that we're racist. I would like them to say, I would put them on the defensive, because sometimes they know it is, but they try to pretend like that they don't know. So I would say, no, you tell me what's unprofessional about this. What is distracting? How is it distracting that my daughter has braids? And I would make them say exactly why that is distracting and call them out.
Yes, call them out.
And I would use the opportunity to educate them. I would either bring them an article with some facts that will point out to them so that they can see, your ideas are purely prejudicial, and you need to step up and realize this is how the person looks, and you need to respect that.
All right. Call them out, educate, write a letter. and keep your natural hair just like you want
Yes.
it. But we got to go. Make sure you follow us on our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We are Three Black Moms. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're Three Black Moms.